Why do we feel that? And we're at capacity for students, which we've been said for years that we've been at capacity for residential housing.
Residential housing.
On campus, we are full.
It's on.
Why not build? If we're wanting to grow our numbers, we should.
I'll explain. Thank you. I can explain what you're saying. So when I arrived at Bethany, I walked in the door, summer of 2015. Handed to me was, Mr. President, this is your next project. I did not pick the activity center like, oh, I want to build an activity center. It was determined in 2006. Priority one in 2006 was, we need to build Huntsy Hall. We need a new academic center. That was achieved, so 2006 decided, in 2010 it was built. Priority two in 2006 was, we live in Minnesota. We need an indoor activity center for our student body. So that was determined back then. I just happened to be the president who walked into, here's the project you're supposed to work on, okay? There's one more phase to that project, and that is the Ron Young Gym, okay? If you looked at it, it needs a lot of help. So that's the last phase to renovate that gymnasium. New bleachers, new floor, new paint job, all that good stuff. So now, the funding for that activity center is not a part of this budget that's been a deficit year over year, okay? The funding for that project was independent, outside of budget donations to it, okay?
Completely.
Yes. So so a donor could say, I want to give to the Bethany Fund, which is the fund to pay the professors, keep the courses going, right? So that's part of Give to Bethany Day, is a part of the Bethany Fund. And the goal there is to raise $750,000 this year. People have said to me, if you have a deficit, why don't you just raise the goal? The short answer is because that's all we think we can raise. Last year we made our goal like $2,000. Our need is $500,000 more. Okay? But, we're not going to say, we need $1.3 million and only get, whatever it is, 700 some thousand. So you try to put out there what you think you can raise. Okay, so again, Shields Field, that was Shields, okay? Mayo's helping to do with like the fitness center. You see the plaque on the wall by the fitness center. The Taylor Corporation helped with the funding of the activity center. So it's private, outside the budget donations that fund it. Different budget from what we're talking about.
That they would not have let us use for what we're talking about.
Those people never would have given to us for, hey, will you help us with our budget? Okay, sorry, I think you might have been number two.
My question was that, but I can build on that, his question. There's no incentive really to go into that building unless you have something you do with sports or fitness. There's no real incentive for anybody else to go in there.
Okay, my understanding is that like intramurals would be using it. I've said, why don't we do kickball games in there and stuff like that?
Ultimate Frisbee uses it.
I was going to say there's clubs maybe in there.
Yeah, there are clubs.
So I'm hoping as it gets colder, people are gonna wanna go walk in there, run in there, play on the field, all kinds of intramural activities. We have time set aside for the students that, just the recreation.
Could I talk about that just a little bit on that point? So you could say, no one's ever gonna go into the theater unless you're in theater. It's like you're not gonna go, you use facilities what they were built for. The nice thing about the BAC is like, they actually use it for, like you said, they're using it for recreational activities. You can walk in there, you can run, even just basic fitness or working out, you can do that too. You don't have to be in just theater or sports to use it.
Mm-hmm. So we don't want it to be a sports center, we want it to be a student activity center. All right, I'll try next.
All right.
Then you can be next after that.
This is a two-parter. So first of all, this part is just kind of to everybody in the room. I have the name of the reporter who's gonna do a story on this, so if you want to be in the package at all, just come talk to me and I'll give you her number. She's kind of asked for as many
Well, I
people
want
as
you to be
possible.
really careful about that. Lance Schwartz is our Bethany Communication Director, and he's in contact with KUIC, and they're setting up an interview to talk with me tomorrow.
Yes, she's told me that, and she's trying to address it from the most balanced perspective. She just wants to hear, people who have something to do with it. And she doesn't have anything to do with Bethany, so she's going to do it from a very unbiased perspective. And my second question is that, so all of us in this room have stated our opinions, and we've been very clear, those of us who graduated and those who haven't, but as I'm sure you're aware, there's been a lot said on Facebook by long-term friends of Bethany, such as my parents and their friends, and so I'm just wondering, does that sort of give you cause for concern, or is that not as much of a cause for concern? Sort of a lot of people seem to be very anti this
Well,
decision.
I think anybody can answer that. Being under attack is no fun. Can I say this isn't what I signed up for when I became president? I want everybody to hate me. I've been an educator, Christian school educator, 43 years, if you count my time as president here. I'm all about, I want to engage more students with Jesus. That's what I want to do. This is just part of the tough work that we got to figure out how to get this budget balanced. So, okay. You've talked. Oh, I said you were next.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you mentioned, and this is just out of curiosity for myself, you mentioned that rehiring golf and tennis coaches would save us more money than cutting the program.
Yes, yes.
So I'm just wondering, if that plan were to go through, if you were to rehire and then the growth in those sports did not happen, is there a plan B in a sense?
Yeah. Then it would be, okay, this isn't working. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's true. Did you hear we hired a nursing recruiter? We hired recruiters for track and field. So we're trying different things, strategies to grow enrollment. So if they don't work, eventually you say, okay, that's not working. So the studio art professor, part of his load is reduced so that he can be a recruiter. So we're trying a lot of things to try to. Okay. Back.
So first of all, I do understand that this is really a horrible situation for you to be in. And I don't want to make this any worse. But when you said that you hired a recruiter for the nursing school, who is also they've been graduating very few people every year.
That's why we're trying to fix that. We're trying to get more incoming students into the program.
But you didn't do that for 2 years. For history. That's kind of the thing that I'm having a hard time.
Yeah. So we're looking at the trends in the enrollment over time and the trend line in these programs. Despite the wonderful things happening, the trend line was not growth, and so we didn't invest in that. With a recruiter, you might say. Now we're asking the theater 2.5 people to take on a role to help with recruitment. So, if over time, if there's less teaching, can you help with recruiting to the fine arts?
But there is growth for the nursing?
Well, there's, so this year, new freshmen, I call them the nursing hopefuls, right? It's like 18.
But then there's a consistent drop in those students every
It's
year.
really hard.
3 being graduated a
Yeah,
year.
it's really hard, so.
And then 2 people actually being accepted into the upper division classes in nursing while everybody else.
I'm not sure if that's accurate.
Might be, might not be.
So you have to fulfill the requirements, so you come as a freshman, and then you gotta take all the hard science and chemistry, bio and chemistry and all that stuff, and then you gotta get through the intro to nursing as a sophomore to finally get to the junior level, and those are really hard courses. So, let's try.
So I have a question about, thank you for your time, by the way, I really appreciate you coming and telling us. But I have a question about our financial board. If this seems to be like a short-term plan, and I'm worried that we're gonna fall into the same trap again in the future. If we keep relying on this fund, these troubled times fund, like in the future, what if that same thing happens again? Like, we can't just plan for the next 5 years and hope it'll be smooth sailing. We have to have a long-term plan. And I'm just wondering, for peace of mind, like, do you have a plan for that, especially as our economy continues to fluctuate and change with everything that's happening in the world?
Yeah. So you can imagine how challenging the assignment was. So you've never had a balanced budget in 20 years?
Yeah.
And now you're supposed to have one this year and the next 4 years in the future? So it was a daunting task. And will it play out exactly as planned? Do you ever work with your own budgets? Do things get adjusted week to week, month to month, year to year? Absolutely. So this is a budget plan, that's a long ways out, 5 years. So beyond that, there will be a continual adjustment. Like we said, if this doesn't work, maybe you do something different, So that is just always, there's always has to be flexibility. And one of the things I've learned as a president is you always have to take some risk. Anything you do in life, there's risk involved. There's risk involved walking outside. I might get hit by a car. But you take calculated risk where you think it will work. And so.
Yeah, my only other question was, do you think, like, in the future down the road, so I know we've cut these programs now, but potentially, like, in this moment of crisis, we've cut them now, but maybe in the future, could we ever bring them back?
I'll never say never. Okay? So, God willing, Bethany's blessed. Things go well, we get out of this crisis. You know what the first thing we need to do? We need to get our safety net back. So we do, but we don't have a savings account, okay? So we do, okay? So when I say that, and they say, what do you mean you have a savings account? We have an endowment at Bethany. It's about 32 million in it. And that's where we do scholarships every year. So we take a draw of the earnings out of that every year to help with scholarships. But some of the money in the endowment is the board can choose how to use it. And so that's our only reserve. But obviously we don't want to spend anything out of the endowment for deficits. So